Hello, how are you doing, ladies and gentlemen? How are you doing tonight, this lovely Saturday evening? Well, I hope that you're well, that you had a fantastic day. I hope generally you were watching a good mood. We had a really nice guest. I've seen the feedback. I know we really enjoyed the show yesterday. Now, tonight, it's on. As you can see, energy eco top. I've been engaging a lot of you guys online, discussing, of course, what we're going to be talking about today. And today we have a very interesting topic. Ini mona kuna wengine meshika vibaya, kuna wengine wako sawa. So tonight, of course, apart from the top stories of the day, we are talking about the adults who are living na mami na daddy. That is actually the topic that we have tonight. And I've seen all the feedback because nilekea kitu kwa mtandao kitambo. Na nimeona mnasema economy ni mbaya, lazima tukae with our parents. Well, I don't know. And of course, we have a very abled panel lady. You look great tonight. How are you doing? Say hi to everybody.
Oh, hi. Welcome.
I love that. Wow. Pastor Sue, today you're early.
Wow, I had to come early because this is a very important topic that we are discussing. And I want to let the viewers know that we're going to have a very wonderful time.
Absolutely.
Having a masculine energy, you can be sure.
Preach.
This show will be excellent.
Love it.
I'm ready for the
You're
show.
Ready for the show. And of course, this is the first time we're seeing him on the show. Salimiana kwanza.
How are you guys?
Yeah, I know you're not shy. If you follow this guy online, he's hilarious. Lakini anasumbanga wazazi nyumbani. Hoch Moharo, he's going to be talking to us. He proudly is living with his parents up until now. And you know what, anasema, hana haraka ya kwenda mahali. Pole. All right, so it's going to be a fantastic show tonight. Let's, of course, begin with the top stories, the highlights. Four people killed, many more injured after bandits struck Kakong area in Turkana South.
Mimi ningependa kuuliza Mheshimiwa Rais, hii watu kukufa kila siku Turkana, itaisha lini?
Angry residents temporarily block the Lodwar-Kitale highway, demanding justice. Salaried Kenyans to brace for tough times ahead as the new NSSF rates take effect from Sunday, further shrinking their take-home pay.
Tunampatia kura anaenda nalala. Kwake anakula mzuri, si wananchi tunaumia.
A section of Kenyans say they will not re-elect their members of parliament for failing to effectively represent their interests.
Majority of them don't honor the duties that they were elected to do.
Political analysts now predict that more than 80% of current MPs may fail to secure seats in the 14th parliament. What a great pleasure it is to have you joining us here on TV's 47's Weekend Edition. Of course, my name is Betty Kyallo. We want to start with the top stories tonight, and our signed language anchor is Valen Owino. To some serious story that is actually developing. 4 people have been killed in Kakong, Turkana South after suspected bandits struck while residents were guarding livestock. The attackers escaped with more than 1,000 animals, sparking outrage and calls for urgent security intervention. Suzanne Locho reports.
Fear and uncertainty have gripped Kakong in Turkana South following a deadly attack that left 4 people dead.
We will never again accept what we call disarmament. If it is being done in Turkana alone, we will not accept that.
The victim were among residents guarding livestock when armed bandits struck, attacking them before fleeing with more than 1,000 animals.
Watu wamewawa Kakong 5. Juzi watu wamewawa Kapilbuk. Mwanafunzi juzi amewawa pale Kainuk akiwa anaenda shule. Lopi watu waliwawa.
In a separate incident linked to the same attack, one of the deceased was traveling by car from Lodwar to Kitale when he encountered the attackers on the road and was shot dead on the spot. Residents have condemned the killings, calling on the Cabinet Secretary for Security to take decisive action against banditry that continues to threaten lives and livelihoods in the region.
Waziri Murkomen, komesha hii maneno ya Pokot na Turkana. La sivyo, sisi tuamuke na nyinyi maaskari muwachane na sisi.
Turkana County Police Commander John Tarus has confirmed the incident, saying additional security officers have been deployed to the area to restore calm. Police have so far managed to recover 500 of the stolen animals.
And now we have deployed a multi-agency team to reinforce the Henbiar, which is now also, there is now also an active engagement of fire.
The bodies of the 4 victims have been moved to Lodwar Mortuary as investigations continue. Susan Locho for TV47.
All right, now salaried Kenyans are bracing for slimmer pay slips starting this February, which is tomorrow, as the National Social Security Fund Act of 2013 enters its 4th year of implementation. Now, the law, which transformed NSSF from a provident fund into a pension scheme after a decade-long legal battle, now requires higher deductions from employees' salaries, matched by employers, leaving many workers with less in their pockets at the end of the month, plus looming job losses. Take a look.
In less than 24 hours, salaried Kenyans will experience a squeeze in their take-home pay as a scheduled increase in the National Social Security Fund (NSSF) Act takes effect. In the new NSSF deductions, those earning 50,000 Kenya shillings will see an increase in deductions from 1,320 Kenya shillings in 2025 to 3,000 Kenya shillings. If you are earning 100,000 Kenya shillings, you will also witness an increase in deductions from 4,320 in 2025 to 6,000 Kenya shillings. 6,480 Kenya shillings will be deducted from those earning 200,000 Kenya shillings to 1 million. The NSSF contribution limits will also increase, impacting both employers and employees. Tier 1, which is the lower earning limit, will increase from 8,000 in 2025 to 9,000 in 2026, while Tier 2, which is the upper earning limit, will increase from 72,000 in 2025 to 108,000 Kenya shillings. These changes mean higher statutory deductions and greater impact for both employers and employees. After facing a decade-long legal battle in February 2023, NSSF transformed from a provident fund to a pension scheme. Ever since, there have been annual adjustments to the lower and upper earning limits. The 12% total contributions from both the employers and employees has risen from 2,160 Kenya shillings in 2023 to 12,960 Kenya shillings. Elizabeth Atieno, TV47, Nairobi.
Now to some devastating news, and 1 person has died and at least 30 others were injured after a speeding bus rammed into pedestrians at a bus stop in Ngara, right here in Nairobi. Now, police say the vehicle suffered brake failure, veered into the crowd outside Nairobi City Primary School, crashed into roadside guardrails and overturned. Now, several teachers who had gathered at the school were among those injured. Victims were rushed to Guru Nanak Hospital, with some in critical condition. Police confirmed 1 death, though first responders say the number could be higher.
There are multiple casualties and they had multiple injuries, head injuries, decapitations, abrasions. We managed to stabilize them and take them to Guru Nanak Hospital.
Tatu, almost 42-seater bus, lost control, hitting quite a number of teachers. I saw it with my 2 eyes. I personally helped to carry some of the teachers to the police vehicles that were standing. First, the police were very helpful because they offered transport of both the injured ones, and at least at that time 2 were already gone. So I'm speaking what I saw.
Well, Paul, sana to everyone and anyone who was actually involved in that. Now tonight, voter anger is boiling over. Kenyans are warning that up to 80% of current MPs could be swept out in the 2027 general election, a figure far higher than the 56% Speaker Moses Wetangula cautioned earlier this week. Kenyans say their leaders have failed in representation, oversight and service. Paul Kirobi tells us more.
Tonight, a huge majority of Kenyans say they are ready to send their current MPs packing in the 2027 general election. On Tuesday, while on retreat in Naivasha, National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula warned that at least 56% of MPs may not be re-elected. But as it emerges, the number could be far higher, closer to 80%.
Kulikuwa na maendeleo ya maji zimesambazwa. Roads were being made, but since these guys have come in, hatuoni chochote inaendelea.
Wenye wataisaruti percentage ya wabunge ambao wako bungeni 30% ndio wataisaruti.
Kenyans we spoke to say the MPs they elected have failed in their role of representing their interest. Many feel their members of parliament have deliberately championed other interests, thereby making them voiceless when it matters.
Education system. Bumula sub-county hakuna. I humbly request hata asidefend kiti aende tu nyumbani kwa sababu barabara ni mbovu. Saa hii ukienda Bumula sub-county wa mama wanaumia maji juu ya kiangazi.
So majority of them don't honor the duties that they were elected to do, and then also they are not with the people. That's the main challenge. So also some of them have a lot of scandals.
Instead, many are accused of enriching themselves and even bragging about it publicly. In Bungoma, residents have taken issue with how MPs control the NGCDF kitty. In Nyamira, families complain of water shortages. In Kisii, frustrations mount over stalled development projects.
Kwa sababu sisi tunajua ya kwamba serikali hii vile walileta ukatusi, kaunti yenyewe inajitegemea without president or with the president.
Sasa kwa hivyo tunasema wao wanaenda nyumbani.
Wetangula reminded legislators that Kenya has seen parliament swept away before in one election.
People out there will not want to employ you. It will take you time to convince the voters that you can come back to parliament. And if you are not planned yourself well, you can have a very miserable life. As the clock ticks towards August 10th, 2027, Kenyans are being urged to critically analyze their options and elect leaders with proven track records. The upcoming general election will be tough and tricky due to the current political temperature in the country and also dynamics of politics. Paul Kirobi, TV47, Nairobi.
The United Opposition Alliance tours Murang'a and Nyeri tomorrow, just a week after the attack on former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and worshippers in Othaya. Now, the visit is seen as a litmus test for police, with the opposition giving the IG Kanja 2 weeks to arrest rogue officers, goons and alleged financiers behind recent violence or face nationwide protests. Apollo Kamau reports.
All eyes are now on the National Police Service as the United Opposition Alliance heads to Murang'a and Nyeri counties on Sunday, just a day after the opposition warned it would resume nationwide protests if rogue police officers and hired goons are not arrested.
Tutarudi Othaya on Sunday, tutakuwa pale Gitugi on Sunday, na tumeambia police officers kama wataki kulinda mikutano yetu wasikuje kusaidia wahuni.
Opposition leaders are expected to attend a church service at ACK Gitugi Church in Mathioya, Murang'a County before embarking on a Meet the People tour in Gitugi Town and later in Othaya Town.
If you touch any national leader and assassinate any national leader a few months to the next general election, this country will never be the same again.
Opposition leaders say they are yet to get any communication from the National Police Service regarding the tour, but want police and goons to keep off, saying they have the people's support. The tour comes barely a week after the violent attack at Witima Church, where rogue police officers fired shots into the air and lobbed tear gas inside the church as goons went on a rampage, burning vehicles and causing chaos. Apart from Nairobi, Bungoma, Kakamega and Narok, the majority of attacks targeting former DP Rigathi Gachagua and other opposition leaders have occurred within the Mount Kenya region, where President William Ruto is locked in a fierce supremacy battle with his former deputy. A recent meeting between the opposition and IEBC commissioners has further rattled President Ruto's allies, who accuse the opposition of interfering with the electoral body.
Wacha IBC fanye kazi yake ndio tusafirishe ule mkabila once and for all. Ama nyinyi watu ya Ukambani hamtaki kufukuza wakabila? Kweli yule mkabila ana means business. Si aseme Kalonzo tosha basi. Si aseme Kalonzo.
Ahead of Sunday's tour, Gachagua hosted former Othaya MP Geshoki Mugambi at his Wamunyoro residence, where the former legislator officially joined the DCP party. Apul Kamau, TV47.
Mandera Governor Aden Khalif has been questioned over 449 million shillings in emergency funds, which according to the Auditor General, there is no confirmation of proper use. Now, Khalif told senators the funds went to 349 million for relief food, 55.9 million for seedlings, and 32 million for water tracking. Senators raised fears of possible misuse. Elizabeth Mutuku reports.
Appearing before the Senate County Public Accounts Committee, chaired by Homa Bay Senator Moses Kajwang, Mandera Governor Aden Khalif was put on spot over the expenditure of 449.1 million shillings from the county's emergency fund, allegedly spent without proper supporting records.
Also told us that 55.9 million was spent on seedlings in a county that has perennial drought situations.
What type of seedlings?
Can you give us the assurance that the 55.9 million worth of seedlings are traceable?
So I can confirm that we have been very prudent in our way of managing things, and we have really tried our best to make sure that lives and livelihood of our people are safe. Thank you.
According to the governor, 349 million shillings was spent on relief food during the drought period, while 32.2 million shillings went towards water tracking. However, senators questioned how county verified the expenditure, particularly in identifying the families that benefited from the funds.
How do you carry out to ensure that these 55 million watt seedlings are accessible or they can be traced to a particular farmer?
If I give farmers 10,000 avocado seedlings, I should be able to point and say those ones are the trees.
Yeah, it is not only on seedlings. It is all the farm produce product that we give to our farmers is coded under that line.
The committee was further taken aback by the governor's admission that 55.9 million shillings was spent on seedlings in the drought-prone county. Senators sought clarification on the type of seedlings, procedure at such a cost. In his defense, Governor Khalif said the county relies on food and vegetables grown along river areas, an explanation that failed to fully satisfy the lawmakers.
It is unacceptable to have 3.5 billion of payments locked up in the county government's payments that are due to people who have done work for the county government. So
the committee was told that 12 million shillings was spent on cash transfers to vulnerable families. The committee has now called for thorough audit of Mandera County's emergency fund. Elizabeth Mutuko, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, a dark cloud of grief hangs over Mbobo village in Oljoro, Nyandarua County, after the horrific killing of Tabitha Wanjiru Macharia, an 8-year-old grade 2 pupil at Oljoro Primary School. Now, Tabitha went missing Friday evening while walking home from school. Hours later, her body was discovered in a wheat plantation, while police say she was allegedly defiled before being brutally murdered. Mundene John reports.
What began as a routine walk home from school for 8-year-old Tabitha Wanjiru ended in an unthinkable nightmare. Tabitha was last seen at 5 p.m. on Friday trailing behind her schoolmates, but she never made it home. When the evening set in and Tabitha remained missing, her family and neighbors launched an agonizing search. It wasn't until they reached a nearby wheat plantation that her father, Johanna Macharia, spotted a familiar jacket discarded in the thicket. Beneath a layer of leaves lay the lifeless body of his daughter, her hands tied behind her back, a sight that has left the community in total shock.
Sasa tulitangulia kuona bag ya mtoto. Hapo mimi nikajijazia kuona bag na hii mtoto si mtoto ya kulalala barabara, lazima hapa iwe na kitu.
Described by her father as a respectful and bright child, Tabitha's life was cut short in a manner that defies words. Initial reports suggest she was sexually assaulted before being murdered. Her body was moved to the JM Kariuki Hospital morgue in Olkalau pending a post-mortem examination.
Alikuwa mtoto mzuri sana, hata sina mtoto mwingine kama huyo. Alikuwa mzuri, lakini
na nawapatia only 2 weeks. Washikwe, hawa watu washikwe na wapeleke jela, wakae jela.
As the police intensify their hunt for the perpetrators, Nyandarua West Sub-County Commissioner Zainab Barasa is calling on parents, religious leaders and the entire community to remain vigilant. For the residents of Mbombo village, the demand is singular: justice for Tabitha and safety for their children. Munene John, TV47, Nairobi.
Indeed, Tabitha deserves justice. Very sad incident there. Now, Uganda is staring at losing its military aid from the United States, with the total assistance budget exceeding $970 million per year. Well, this follows the Washington Friday warning of possible sanctions on Uganda after General Muhoozi's incendiary posts accusing the U.S. Embassy of aiding opposition leader Bobi Wine. U.S. Senator Jim Risch calls Muhoozi's apology hollow and insufficient. Stanley Nyaringita with the details.
For a country that has been characterized by the U.S. as an important security partner in Africa, notably for its counter-terrorism efforts in Somalia, Uganda's security relations with the USA may soon begin to fade. According to the chairman of the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Jim Risch, Uganda's Chief of Defense Forces, General Muhoozi Kainerugab's apology was hollow. In posts, which were subsequently deleted, Muhoozi stated that the United People Defense Forces, UPDF, will suspend all cooperation with the U.S. Embassy in Kampala, as well as their work in Somalia. However, Friday, Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni's son Muhoozi penned an apology on his X account, stating that he had been provided misleading information. A review of the U.S. Department of State's website shows that Washington provides significant development and security assistance to Uganda, including supporting the professionalization of the military, with the total assistance budget exceeding $970 million per year. This comes as lapse in funding to the U.S. Embassy in Uganda has begun hampering the social media updates, with the embassy assuring citizens that scheduled passport and visa transit services in the United States and U.S. embassies and consulates overseas will continue during the lapse in appropriations as the situation permits. Stanley Nyaringita, TV47.
Now, Share Chairperson Dr. Abdi Mohammed has called for mobilization of domestic resources to finance Kenya's health sector amidst the dwindling donors' support. Now, speaking during the one-year anniversary ceremony of Willow Health Media in Nairobi, Dr. Abdi acknowledged the existing challenges in SHA, further calling for the enhancement of SHA digital infrastructure and smooth implementation of the 4 laws under the Social Health Authority. While on her part, Willow Health Media CEO Dr. Mercy Korir called for the involvement of patients, healthcare providers and communities in health storytelling. Also present at the ceremony was Kate Media CEO Mwenda Njoka.
I trained to heal bodies, just like my fellow doctors who are here. But over time, I realized that some of the most powerful forces shaping health are not found in hospitals or clinics, but in information, in systems, in policy, and by this I mean the people whose stories are told and how they are told.
I will not say SHA is perfect, but I can say we are headed in the right direction, and we will continue improving and doing the right for Kenyans.
Our commitment is to continue on the same path as we grow bigger, so that in 5-10 years, we are the go-to house, the go-to media house for everybody looking for information on health. And that's really our dream, to see that Willow Health Media becomes a warehouse of information on health.
right, so let's now turn our focus to some sporting action. Nairobi United are optimistic about turning their CAF Confederation Cup campaign around despite a challenging start in Group B fixtures. The Nai boys, who have yet to claim a win on the continental stage, already are in Zanzibar to face Tanzanian side Azam FC in the reverse fixture tomorrow, determined to bounce back after a string of tough results. The Nai boys are yet to claim a victory on the African stage after having suffered 3 consecutive defeats in the competition's group phase. They earned the right to represent Kenya after defeating Gor Mahia 2-1 in the 2025 FKF Cup final, a landmark victory for a team relatively new to the top flight of domestic football.
Focus tomorrow's match in a positive way. What I mean is we want to work. And we have nothing to lose. We want to get the 3 points. If we want to remain in the same contention, then definitely we have to get the 3 points, which will give us the momentum to finish the last 2 on a higher note. I think that's the most important thing. Many clubs that they've tried to reach in the group stage for the last many years, especially in representation of Kenya, it was Gor Mahia, I think 8 years ago. And before that, they were champions of the Premier League for 3 years in a season. For Nairobi United, coming out from an NSL division, a lower tier division, winning a Mozart, and of course going all the way to group stage, I believe they've done something wonderful for them.
Now, Gor Mahia turned on the style at Nyayo National Stadium today, cruising to a dominant 3-0 victory over Sofapaka in the SportPesa Premier League clash. Kyallo goals were all scored in the first break to seal the much-needed victory for the Charles O'Connor-led side. Elsewhere, Tusker FC and Postal Rangers shared the spoils in a 1-1 draw, while Kakamega Homeboys and Mary Sugar served up a 6-goal thriller that ended 3-3. KCB also continued their fine run with a hard-fought 2-1 win over Mathare United. Attention now shifts to tomorrow's fixtures, with Kariobangi Sharks set to face Ulinzi Stars, Shabana locking horns with Bandari, and Murangasil battling APS Bomet as the league action rolls on.
Played today's game at ease. All the things that we wanted to do, we did it in the first half. We were a bit superior than the opponent. What was not too good is what we did in the second half. We created a lot of chances, and we must be ambitious, in terms of, you've scored 3, it doesn't matter. If you get the next 3, you have to score. That was the only thing, but I think we can only be proud of the boys.
Kuweza kujituma vizuri, ukiangalia kuanzia mchezo uanze mpaka mwisho tumekuwa somehow wazito, hakukuwa na ile cohesion leo. So niko sure kama next game tutawork on that, tukuje poa, but leo kusema kweli leo hatujacheza vizuri. Ndio tumepoteza, but hatujacheza vizuri, tumecheza vibaya sana leo. Kwanza kama hatuna mpira, tulikuwa hatuwezi fikia wachezaji wa Gor Mahia, alafu pia communication yetu pia katikati ilikuwa imepotea kiasi. Tuanza vibaya, wakaweza kutunga bao 3, wakaturudi kipindi cha pili, tukageuza system of play, tukaweza kuwa manage kidogo. Vile tulianza manage kidogo tena tukarudi down. Tena nika adjust tena, ndio tukakuwa na mastrika wawili, at least tuanze kupump tupate kitu, but hatukupata.
All right, so that's where we wrap up the first part of the show tonight. Of course, lazima tungemaliza na news, but I'm seeing all the comments here. Thank you so much. And also for everybody who's watching us on YouTube, thank you, karibu sana. Also, you can chime in. We'll be looking at that. Of course, your feedback there. But just looking at some of the comments, remember tonight on Say What, we are talking about, you're an adult, but bado unakaa kwa mom ama kwa dad. Is it all right? Does it signify anything else? Uko successful in life or anything like that? Let's talk tonight, of course, with regards to that. Actually, let's just put them up over here on our super screen. GK Kenny unasema nitoke mtaa, maisha inikanyage, sio mwanze kunicheka. If I can get what I need, I don't see the importance of me going out of our home. No stress. Aya. GK Kenny nimekusikiza, umesema mbona tukuchekelee huku nje, maisha ikugonge, ikukanyage. All right, let's have another one here. Remember, you can talk to us on all our platforms. Feedback tutakuwa tunazisoma leo. Asiko Grace, you're saying, I'm turning 30 soon na sitoki kwa mzazi. I'm scared of paying bills. Yes, sisi sote tunaogopa bills for real. Tunaziogopa. So I get what you're saying. Asiko Grace, thank you for your comment over there. Keep them coming. Remember, we also have our question of the day. You know, what does this signify? What can you actually talk to us about? You know, people who are still living with their parents back at home. So we're going to be having that conversation. Talk to us. And like I mentioned, we have a very able panel of guests. Munana wako tayari. Hoch. Leo niko kwako. If you guys follow Hoch online, yeye bado ako home. Salimiana by the way.
Vibaya sana. Nasihami. Sikubali ati pressure ati ya nini. Kama huyo Grace amesema mambo ya bills, niko hapo na yeye.
Pia unaogopa bills?
Niko hapo na yeye.
You know, niko na maswali. Basi umesikia?
Yes, nimesikia.
Akina Wisdom, your son, wasitoke umaka kukai pamoja.
Nitawafukuza.
Niacha baba yao. Let's take a short commercial break. We're coming back with this interesting conversation. We'll be right back.